So there were women who said, we have sealed the deal. This is our fate and this is our life. It's not about choice or liking anything. And I still remember there was this one lady who said, किसी को भी यहाँ पे देख लो, जो भी काम करता है उसको हमेशा उसका काम पसंद नहीं आता है. 80% लोग ऐसे ही होते हैं दुनिया में, उसको उसका काम पसंद नहीं आता है. सिर्फ 20% लोग अच्छे, मतलब
जो खुश रहते हैं अपने काम से.
They just decide कि ठीक है. So she's like, I'm at 80%. This is my work. So there is a theory which was in 2012. It's called the Enclothed cognitive theory, wherein there were two sets of groups that were given lab coats and white coats, and one group was told that this is a doctor's coat, and one group was told that this is a painter's coat, and then they were given tasks to do. And what the observations turned out was that the doctor's coat individuals who were told that, they focused on tasks a lot better. They had good time management, good focus, good communication. They also had good body language. Versus the painters group what they observed over there, that it was a little more laid back, relaxed kind of behavior. Tasks, some were done, some were not done. It was a very easygoing atmosphere. And that simply says here that a simple white coat, which could be, perceived in two different directions, but when told that this is what it is for, the person automatically. I think another great example is Halloween costumes. I've always found that to be very fascinating, because I think that clothing on that day is so important for everyone, because they literally walk into a party and they're like, so what do you think, who am I? They're waiting for people to actually guess who their whole storyline is. And that's non-verbal communication. That's clothing. That's making you feel the Superman, the sexy nurse, whoever you want to be, the witch, or whatever it is, right? For a girl and a boy, the most simplistic item in your outfit is a shoe. I think a right pair of shoe can change the world, is what Cinderella said. But it was really right, because I asked people. So it's like, so do you know Steve Jobs? And they say, yes, I do know. Of course, everyone does. I said, do you know that he also took clothing very seriously? He's like, are you crazy? He wore like a black turtleneck half his life. I said, well, the rest half of it, he did wear a suit. And that's the part which never got documented as much, unless you really read the book or see a partial documentary on it. And in his book, he writes there, saying that as much as I hated to wear a coat and go from meeting to meeting, I knew that was the only coat that got me through the door.
क्या आपको पता है कि आपका अपीयरेंस सिर्फ फैशन या कपड़ों तक सीमित नहीं है? It's about how you carry yourself, your attitude and the energy you bring into the room. आज हम मिल रहे हैं बिनाइशा खरास डोंगरे से, इंडिया की यंगेस्ट मास्टर इमेज कंसल्टेंट, जो सिर्फ लुक्स नहीं बल्कि आपका पूरा प्रेजेंस ट्रांसफॉर्म करती है. फ्रॉम स्टाइल टू सेल्फ लव, शी हैज़ हेल्प्ड थाउजेंड्स रीडिफाइन देयर पर्सनल ब्रांड. लेकिन ये सिर्फ मेकओवर की बात नहीं है, ये है इनसाइड आउट ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन की कहानी. सो स्टे ट्यून्ड, क्योंकि ये एपिसोड आपकी इमेज के बारे में सोचने पर मजबूर कर देगा और आपका नज़रिया बदल देगा. ऐसे ही और इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक्स को लेकर जल्दी ही आने वाले हैं, तो इस चैनल को अभी से लाइक और सब्सक्राइब करना मत भूलना. Hi Benaisha, welcome to the show Perception and Beyond.
Thank you, ma'am, for having me.
So before we take a deep dive into the conversation, I want to ask you, who is an image consultant and what do they do?
So image consultants are individuals who work with other individuals to enhance them. And I think through other enhancements, they also land up enhancing themselves. That's something that's happened to me personally. If we're looking at a definition, image consulting is basically, it's a very well thought process It's an artistic and a scientific process, I'd say. It's a beautiful dance of the inside out of a person's perception of themselves and of what they'd like to present out as well to people. So, an image consultant marries what they think of themselves to finally project what they would like to of themselves. And it's a beautiful journey wherein you're not just talking about the external appearances. You're actually on a very holistic journey of understanding who you really are, what are your roles and goals for the current season of your life. It's also a wonderful journey to kind of understand who you are but who you want to be in the next couple of years, and take you through that with your appearance and your attitude. So it's not just about how you look, but it's also about how you feel and how you think and how you act. So that's what an image
Amazing.
consultant
That's a
does.
very nice way of putting across a profession and what exactly image consulting comprises of. So, what are some of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to personal image and brand?
So I think one of the few common mistakes that I've seen is, and something that even I made at the start, was I feel like we try to be someone we're not. And especially with the word image, it kind of baffles people. So they think that we have to be like others when we're actually not. So the authenticity is lost. So in branding, in personal branding, authenticity is a very key ingredient. It's like salt, I'd say, while making a dish. If you don't have the right amount of authenticity, because too much of it can be repulsive to the opposite viewer, and at the same time lack of it could be leading you to not be who you are at all. So understanding who you are is very important. The other thing is, roles and goals don't align. So if you say you want to be something, if you say you want to achieve it, what is it that you're really doing for it? How is it that what is the kind of effort that you're putting in for it? So sometimes while people say, I want to build this really big brand and all that's there and great and it's all achievable, but action is missing in that process. So a brand is just not in your mind. It's just not how you think about it. It's what you really do about it. So it's an action orientation as well. And another thing that I feel people, don't really take seriously is non-verbal communication. So, um, people expect that they will only really form an impression when somebody talks, but that's not true. You form an impression when you just see somebody, like in seconds. So I think a lot of people take that for granted when in their personal branding journey. They're like, ठीक है, बात कर लेते, फिर उनको पता लगेगा कि हम कौन हैं. But actually, no, people understand आप कौन है the minute you walk into the room. And what your morning story also was from the way you've walked in the room, how your stance is, how your posture is, what kind of clothing have you decided to wear today. So your state of mind is really a reflection through your appearance and your non-verbal cues.
So, when you said authenticity, how is authenticity related with your personal brand? Because I think a lot of people also have this misconception that I am and what I want to create out of my own, self are two different things. And I always feel that there is a very big conflict between the two because people are not understanding that there is a strong correlation between the two. So, if you could just throw some light on that, that would be great.
Sure. So, I'll give you an example. I had a client who basically he told me, I really he was looking to get married, and he said, I want a girl ABC type, someone who is very soft spoken, you know, uh, gels with my mother, but still yet is modern, all of that. So it was like he wanted a sweet and salty situation. And I said, great, but then how are you positioning yourself? And he said, what do I have to do in positioning myself? मुझे ऐसी लड़की चाहिए, मुझे क्या करना है उसमें? So I said, but don't you think you also have to position yourself in a particular way to attract that? So whether it's a relationship we're trying to attract, or whether it's a job promotion we're trying to attract, or whether it's anything, any opportunity that we're trying to attract, we have to align ourselves. It's pretty much like the law of attraction, right?
True,
That we
true,
say
true.
that we need to align ourselves to what we want to receive and what we want to give. So your authenticity is very much to that. I have to be authentic. Am I the broad-minded person I'm asking for in my relationship? Do I have leadership skills for the role I'm asking for as a leader? Do I have am I willing to contribute if I am expected to be a team leader as well? If I want to come across as dependable, do I do things that are dependable? Have I been responsible in the past? So these are all traits which build your image up and build your authenticity. So the first few questions that I ask a client is, what do you have to offer? And usually they go like, why do I have to offer anything? But it is very important that you have to offer, because image is not just your packaging. Image is also your product. And a lot of people get misunderstood by that when they come to me for consulting. They're like, ठीक है, आप हमारा external image करवा दो, and then we're good to go. But that's not. It has a lot to do with your mindset, your attitude. So authenticity plays a very important role, is because if this is how much you can give and this is your contribution that comes naturally to you as a person, I think that's like, for example, personally to me, I'd land up taking clients who are of a specific genre versus, say, of another genre. Like I think I've attracted over the last 13 years of my life a lot of individuals who, who naturally need to be heard, because that's me as a person. I'm a listener. I like to listen to stories. I like to listen to people. I work through with them on understanding their feelings to then putting it into facts of their lives. So I think I've been that person to then attract those kind of clients as well. So I think if I did not have that authenticity, and I just faked it, I would be probably getting a different kind of an audience as well.
I think to a great extent, people can understand if you're not being authentic.
Absolutely, yes.
So for how long can one fake, even if you want to be somebody else? It's not something which you can carry on with for a very long time. And any kind of fake impression or fake image that you carry, I think to a great extent, even you feel uncomfortable by the end of it.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, that's very true, because you can't have a mask on the
Of course.
whole time through. And after a point, you get tired. You really get fatigued out. You get fearful. You get nervous. You get anxiety, because you're not that person. So it's very important to understand that these are my pros and work upons. These are my limitations also as a human being. And I think our dreams should be aligned with what we are willing to give. And so when somebody comes to me for consultation, and they say that I want to look like XYZ, I think the first thing I do is rationalize with them that why do you want to look like this person? So I understand that it's a lot to do with how they feel. So can we work on their feelings? That's how we work backwards around. We work on their feelings to make them feel a lot more competent. And when we make them feel competent through different tools, of course, that's when they kind of realize that, oh, I didn't actually need to look like this. I didn't want to look like this. I was very comfortable in how I look and feel. I just didn't know the other aspects which could enhance my natural personality. And these could be things of body language, communication skills, interpersonal communication with different relationships that you have. What are the choice of vocabulary and language that you have? So I think using all that is also a part of your image, which a lot of people sometimes miss.
Absolutely. And when we are talking about personal brand, a lot of personal branding happens with the way you dress, you carry yourself, external packaging, of course. External is internalized because the way you carry yourself also has an impact on the way you feel, and vice versa.
Yes.
Coming to that, to what extent clothing or the way you dress or present yourself influence your self esteem and your confidence?
I think all of it. It's very, very important. So there is a theory which was in 2012. It's called the Enclothed cognitive theory, wherein there were two sets of groups that were given lab coats and white coats, and one group was told that this is a doctor's coat, and one group was told that this is a painter's coat. And then they were given tasks to do. And what the observations turned out was that the doctor's coat individuals who were told that, they focused on tasks a lot better. They had good time management, good focus, good communication. They also had good body language. Versus the painters group, what they observed over there, that it was a little more laid back, relaxed kind of behavior. Tasks, some were done, some were not done. It was a very easygoing atmosphere. And that simply says here that a simple white coat, which could be, perceived in two different directions, but when told that this is what it is for, the person automatically felt great, felt confident, felt like, I'm a doctor. I'm in this role, I'm in this position. Even if we look at things like, I was having a discussion earlier today, where we look at like even kids today in places like Kidzania, and wherein you take them to role play. You take them to go and play teacher,
Yes.
or you go with them to play doctor, or fireman, or whatever it is, right? They get into that mode. How much do they really know at the age of 4? How much? Not so much, but inherently we naturally respond. We naturally respond to the uniform. We respect it. We feel good about ourselves. I think another great example is Halloween costumes. I've always found that to be very fascinating, because I think that clothing on that day is so important for everyone, because they literally walk into a party and they're like, "So, what do you think? Who am I?" They're waiting for people to actually guess who their whole storyline is. And that's non-verbal communication. That's clothing. That's making you feel the Superman, the sexy nurse, whoever you want to be, the witch, or whatever it is, right? So I think clothing has a very strong impact on your self-esteem. It gives you that boost. For a girl and a boy, the most simplistic item in your outfit is a shoe. I think a right pair of shoe can change the world, is what Cinderella said. But it was really right, because if a man gets a good formal pair and he takes a walk, he will feel so strong and confident and very, very sharp about him. And the same is with a woman, she takes on a little bit of a heel and she feels like, I have arrived. So I think it's really important. Clothes, your whole appearance really matters, not just clothes, your appearance matters.
Absolutely. So, Benaisha, you've been in the industry for over a decade.
Yes.
And I'm sure you also must have experienced the rebellious behavior of people that clothes don't matter. Okay, I'm from IT or I am from this industry. I have always observed that, these things are not important. Your qualification is more than anything else. So, do you really think that clothes do matter, or they do make some sort of an impact on the way we think? Although you cited an example of enclothed cognition,
Yes.
but to these corporate professionals who come up with these kind of ideas and mindset, how do you address these people?
I have a simple story that I've been literally repeating in the last 13 years, which is the Steve Jobs story. and it's in his. So the fun fact is, I asked people, so it's like, so do you know Steve Jobs? And they say, yes, I do know, of course, everyone does. I said, do you know that he also took clothing very seriously? He's like, are you crazy? He wore like a black turtleneck half his life. I said, well, the rest half of it he did wear a suit. And that's the part which never got documented as much, unless you really read the book or see a partial documentary on it. And in his book, he writes there saying that as much as I hated to wear a coat and go from, meeting to meeting, I knew that that was the only coat that got me through the door. No one was expecting me to wear anything else in that given point of time except that itchy, scratchy suit, which I absolutely hated. I've said this story so many times that I know it. So, this is how he expressed himself. He said, look, I don't care about it, but I have an idea which is so much more than all of this. Great. So, you're from any background, you're from the IT, you're from whatever, and your work is so much more than thinking about what you should wear. Fair enough. Right? But if you want to get to a point, if you want to be in the room, and what I mean in the room is get that opportunity that you're seeking, you have to, unfortunately, in this situation, if the person feels so, you have to follow,
A dress code.
a dress code, a norm. And I think that's really important. Like the other day, I was interviewing someone at a relatively senior position, and I mean, she came very inappropriately dressed for that. So, while you may want to come across as someone who's very fashion forward and style oriented, I think that there's a sense of decorum that and respect for oneself and the viewer that comes about. And that's important. So, you're not distracted. So, coming back to what Steve Jobs says about distraction as well, he's like, I didn't want them to distract from an unusual dress code, which they are not used to as investors. So, I dressed up exactly like them so they can focus more on what I have to say than what I'm really looking like. And the day I got my money, I started my company, I proved it to them. Now I can wear what I want to and be what I want to, and no one's going to say anything because I'm Steve Jobs.
Wow.
So
That's a beautiful example.
so I think it's very important. You have a point, you have a way of life. That's great. But people are only going to respect that when you have a story to tell. Until you get to that point, you're one of us.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people also use Mark Zuckerberg
Yes.
and Bill Gates as a defense mechanism when it comes to clothing, because they say he's always in t-shirt and Bill Gates has always been in a collared t-shirt, but he used to be in the t-shirt, but when he started coming for public appearances, he dressed up. So today when you see Bill Gates, he's always in a blazer. And when it comes to Mark Zuckerberg, he also, when he was appearing for his lawsuit, he was in a blazer. He was in a proper, suit with a tie. So they all know that when there is a right time to do the right thing, they all need to look the part.
Sure. Absolutely. So it is important.
What is the biggest misconception that you have observed around self perception that people have, and how can that be rewired?
Um, so I think a lot of people feel that image is a very frivolous thing. They feel that what am I going to do about it? Like, how does it matter? When it comes to self, they're like, I mean, if you talk to any woman who's probably had two children and now they are in above fifth grade, she's probably replying to you, especially an Indian woman, ke abhi mujhe kaun dekh raha hai, even if she's a working woman. So I think a lot of people don't understand the power of self. They don't understand the power of their image. They don't respect themselves enough, unfortunately, and that's where it all really stems and starts from. Because the minute you start to, this is something I tell all my clients, the minute you start to authorize yourself, the minute you start to endorse yourself, the world will authorize you. Because unless and until you don't tell people what you're good at and how you can be to them, um, they are not going to take you seriously. They're going to just take you as somebody who's just there. So unless you decide that you want to show up for yourself, unless you decide that I want to put in that effort, I know I have a lot of things on my plate, I know life continues, but an empty glass can't pour. You are your glass and you need to have it half full, if not full completely. So I think a lot of people have these misconceptions where they think, "Eh, kya hi farak padega? You know, like what is the big deal? It doesn't really matter. I'm doing my job effectively. So why do I need to think if polka dots goes with checks or not in the morning? If black is white just matches, let it just be. Why do I have to wear colored ties? How does it matter what are the shapes and sizes of certain objects on my body?" People really don't care, at some point. But then when you show them that how it impacts your vision on the same object being on somebody else, and how it kind of creates different, whether it is restructuring of how your body looks, the ratio and proportion of your body, or how it kind of enhances certain aspects of your personal coloring, people are literally like, oh, they have these oh and ah moments like, this thing really, really, like this tiny, but it's so impactful. I think that's I love my job because of this, because there are these tiny little small magic cookies that we give as tips to them, and they have these light bulb moments of aha that they're like, oh my god. But Google will never tell you that too.
Oh, very true. Very true. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, tell me something. Now, you practice and you meet different clients. Who are the kind of people who can benefit from this profession of image consulting?
One word answer, everyone. Many word answer, I would say, first and foremost, I think working with people who want to work on themselves and enhance themselves is a really important factor. But over my career, I have consulted individuals who have been seeking jobs, seeking partners for marriages, women who have taken a sabbatical and are looking to go back to work, or even just after pregnancy, just looking to come back in society in a very body positive format. Individuals who have changed countries and are looking to fit in culturally with into societies. People who are in various professions. So I've worked with nurses, I've worked with doctors on sensitivity, and that is nothing to do necessarily with, because they're in uniform, but to do with their conversation. So how to be, I mean, for you it might be a job, but if the patient is telling you they're in pain, how to sensitize certain situations. Worked with teachers as well on, again, how to deal with parents and students, how to be inspirational and aspirational as teachers of the new age. um, Worked with lots and lots of teenagers, of course. That's something that I enjoy. I work with people getting married, getting divorced as well. People restarting from their journeys too, who just want to feel confident. But when you say confident, it's not like a master class. It's a journey, and it's the journey of your whole image, because image is, again, not just clothes, it's how you see yourself, and that's the image that I'm talking about. So I think these are the individuals. I've worked with hospitality, airlines. um, yes, so in any individual who's looking to step up, promotions, of course, they're seeking a promotion, change of job, change of, they want to start a new career in a completely different segment, or they want to start shows, or anything of that sort. So anyone who's looking to upgrade themselves or direct themselves in a different aspect is something that I've worked with.
All right, I wanted to ask you something very interesting. When you started off as an image consultant and you finished your program, What were certain self discoveries that you made, and what was the aha moment for yourself?
So I, when I started, as you know, when I finished, I was doing the course, I was 19 years old. And I think at that given point of time, I was just, I think my eyes had opened like at the back as well. Like I was just completely with this whole new information that I'd known, but I'd never known to its depth. Like I'd known what clothes are, and I'd liked the idea of dressing up, and I know about like body language and all these terms. But to truly understand the whole psychology behind it and how it really impacts and how it can be beneficial to somebody was something completely new to me. So I obviously tried out all these. It was like my new makeup kit. And I tried out all these tools on me. Some worked, some didn't. And I think at that time, I was figuring out my own sense of personal style, to be honest, because I knew I'd loved color, and I was something. I was very passionate about understanding the psychology of it, and when I knew about that, I think I tried on so many different combinations and all of it, to which I actually got some good responses and some negative ones too, which kind of made me also understand what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. At the same time, I think something where I went terribly wrong was, I was trying to look all grown up when I really wasn't looking it. Because there is, that point that you can fake it till you make it, right? So, as you mentioned, and I had a baby face. And there was nothing I could do about it by putting on a blazer and, adding that oomph to it. So I realized that black blazers were never my thing. Like I've never owned it. Like I owned it and then I gave it off very quickly because I realized that there was no synergy in that. So something knowing from what things work for me, what things didn't, to making faux pas in certain, workshops sometimes, saying things that were not to be said, some jokes that landed very flat, or some jokes that landed very insulting. Sometimes I didn't, I mean, there were all of these moments that came through, but I think each of them was something that I learned and that I sensitized to then understand that these could be challenges of others as well. And that is something that I made, sense out of, and that really helped me experience the process rather than just know it. So these were some of my challenges when I started off. Oh, the biggest challenge was image consulting karte kya hai. So, a lot of people thought I was a graphic designer, image graphics. So that was a joke I got quite a bit. Ki, oh, you're into graphic designing. I was like, no, there's nothing to do about graphics here. A lot of people also felt that these were things that were just for who's going to buy into your services. Like basically you're telling people what to wear. No, so I think those were some of the challenges that today aren't the scenario, of course, because I think a lot of the world is understanding the importance, and I feel like our country has understood it very well, given our current prime minister as well, right? So I think his image building has been quite on point, and the importance of it has been highlighted. And I lived in two different countries in the last few years as well, and I noticed that the way we as Indians are being also looked, our image has changed just because of a lot of other image building activities as well. So I think that those were a few things, challenges that I had of what it is, why it is, who will buy, how it is, it's only for celebrities, it's only very expensive. So these were a lot of misconceptions that people have and challenges.
So, Benaisha, you are also an image consultant and a therapist,
Yes.
an emotive behavior therapist.
Yes.
What made you think that you should combine therapy along with image? And did it really make a difference in the way you deal with people and the way you consult people now?
Absolutely. So while I was studying, so I was in my last year of graduation, and I was doing sociology and psychology. Um, and I knew I wanted to take the subjects in some direction. And when I met Image, it's like I found a life partner for both, and I think they marry so beautifully. And at that point of time, when I had this first idea and I shared it with a few people around, they liked it in on paper, so as to say, but no one really knew how it would transcend. But I did different modalities to kind of, one was REBT, the other was transactional analysis in therapy modal. And all these different modalities kind of help you to understand even various parts of image consulting, and types of clients, and how to deal with them better. So I remember that while I was still pursuing my counseling programs, I had already started my image consulting. I remember that there were so many questions that I wanted to answer to my clients in a better way. I gave them satisfactory answers, but I felt the need to do better, and that I felt like once I got my certification as well from that. And being a psychology student, I had a little bit information, but to get that little extra leverage, I think today, I'm humble and happy and proud to say that I feel like my consultations are so wholesome that even I go back learning something new about myself. It's like, I'm like, wow, like, where did this come from me also, or like, what? Because it's a lot about what you give and what you receive from your clients too. And I think as a person also, it's made me a lot, I think I'm more sensible now than I used to be. And it's a beautiful marriage of both, because when you're dealing with a person, especially one to one, you're understanding their appearance and attitude. You're understanding why are they wearing what they're wearing, to prove what point, why do they want to be something and someone and say something in what direction. You're understanding the why at a much much deeper level. And another thing is, you can also explain a lot more to them at a very deep emotional level, and to which they feel like they've got a really solid answer, rather than ab ye pen lo, this will make you look like this and you will feel confident. But we are going now to a whole different layer of your skin, wherein it's really touching your heart. And it's also, it's the product and then the packaging. So we're here making the product also strong, and we're working on the packaging as well, so the brand is solid to stay.
And I also believe that psychologically it impacts to a great extent, because it's not just about a matter of a physical change. There's a psychological change, there's a psychological shift. When that happens, a lot within you changes.
True.
And that's the thing, that's the power of managing your image. And it's not something which is like a one time thing, like a fixed deposit that you deposit and it's going to pay you or give you a benefit lifelong. Every day you have to invest in managing your image, and every day you see different results. And it depends upon what is the kind of investment you make in that. And I'm not talking about monetary investment, I'm talking about the time that you spend in analyzing what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and why. That why is very important, because if you don't know the whys of your life, you can't take that first step towards how.
True.
So that's very important. What are the psychological tools that you use with your clients when you're doing your consultations?
Mm. I think I what I would say is, I use a lot of course, REBT, which is rational emotic behavioral therapy, um, but very basic. It's not a psychological tool, but it's a life tool. It's just listening to things that they're not saying, and which is their body language, which is also understanding the whys of their life. Um, REBT again coming to is helping them rationalize um, why they are doing what they're doing, why they're expecting certain things, what are their belief systems. So it's, you don't only have belief systems for feelings, you have belief systems for this color will not suit me, you know. So understanding the why of that, or understanding I'm always going to look fat, so black is my only thing, or this will never fit me, right? Or I can never stand up and talk in front of a crowd. So these are all belief systems that people have. So using this as well with image as well as in therapy, it really brings disarms also your client. So my clients tend to understand a lot about themselves. Another thing that I do is I make them write a lot of, I make them write letters to people in their lives. I make them write essays about a few subjects that are piercing and painful for them. I also play a few this or that games, quick this or that games. I work with them on getting them to you know, match some aspects of their childhood with their current life. So it goes back into like, you know, the past to really understand, is that strain coming from anywhere? Do they still feel the same way? So these are a few tools that I kind of use. Of course, there are many other techniques such as breathing activities, meditation. There is a lot to do with, sometimes I make them record and listen to themselves as well. Then grounding activities as well are something that I really encourage them to do. Journaling, of course, is a very important part. So these are all the known ones as well to people. However, I think that there are, from these there are many small ones. So like there is a bud, thorn and flower one. So what's your thorn, what's the pain, what's the bud, which is the opportunity, and what's the flower, which is the gratitude part. So every day you can do a, you know, a bud, thorn, flower exercise for yourself, just like introspective exercises like these. You know, your 5 4 3 2 1 grounding techniques. So I think all of these coming together, and I don't solely use them only for counseling. Of course, I feel like my practice is a lot to do with both aspects. So there are clients who come in saying, I want to change my wardrobe, go back with a lot of therapy sessions as well, because their closet, like, I mean, I feel like you have a physical closet and you have an emotional closet, right? And both need to be straightened out. And the process of wardrobe evaluation applies for your feelings too, which is
Clear the clutter.
visibility, yeah, visibility, accessibility, and mix and matchability. So visibly, how are you visibly looking to yourself and to others? Are you always downright low, or are you always downright high? Right. Visibility as well, are there some emotions that are very open? Yeah. And then of course the accessibility part also that comes into, you know, are you someone I can talk to? Are you open to talking to somebody? Are you a wall? And the mix and matchability is, of course, your integration into society, and how well do you do your tasks? How well do you do your daily chores? So I think that these are some of the concepts that I use from image also into the mental health space, which have kind of worked for me. Even colors. So I think the color therapy, the color aspect, using those from the image aspect to working with my clients, you know, like someone who's downright straight told me, I don't need any image consulting from you. I just want to come here for my mental space. And I'm like, okay, great. And they're like, fine, whatever we said and done. But I want one takeaway, like, you know, like one goodie bag, something. So I'll write them a note saying that the next time you come, or for 1 week, like a prescription, for 1 week, wear the colors X, Y, and Z, and then note down in your journal how you feel. I've done this experiment with several people, and it's been such a wonderful experiment. And I honestly did this with one person because he asked for it. And it just worked like magic, because he came to me saying, I don't know what it was and why you said that to me, but I felt excellent the whole week. because everyone started noticing me in office. And I started getting compliments like saying, अरे आपका शर्ट तो बहुत अच्छा है, आपने कभी एक कलर पहना ही नहीं है, पिंक, mint green I asked him to wear, pink I asked him to wear, and lemon yellow in shirts. So he's like, I mean, I went and I bought, but whenever I wore this in the week, the 3 times, this is what happened. So what is this now? Explain it to me. So I tried this experiment out with a bunch of people, all different age groups, genders, and everyone has come back to say that this has been such a mood lifter. So yeah.
Amazing. So, tell me, how is image consulting and self image correlated? What do you do to uplift people's self image? Because a lot of people have these self image issues, and we all know that today the biggest pandemic is low self image and poor self esteem. It's not what we experienced during COVID time, but this is the real pandemic that everybody is aware of.
True.
And how can an image consultant like you play a role in uplifting people's self image?
Sure. So I'd like to share my own narrative here a little bit that when I had joined the program of image consulting, and prior to that as well, I've had low self-esteem, and confidence is a very far-fetched dream at that given point of time. So my self-esteem was very basic, like it was 10% in the whole scheme of things. And I constantly felt like my self image was pretty much like you're just cruising through life. You don't really know what's happening. It's okay. And most people today, like the young girls or boys, even grown up individuals, sometimes they're like, "ठीक है, life हो रही है, होने दो." We're doing what we need to do rather than what we want to do. And what I personally understood and evolved from that was self esteem, and self image, rather, is all that you tell yourself. It's the story you tell yourself. And I was telling myself a very different story then, and I tell myself a very different story now. So I was looking at myself in the mirror and I was saying, Benaisha, you're just a girl who is simple in a normal family, and everything normal will happen. Normalcy. And that is good. That's what needs to be. That's what should be, because life normal honi chahiye. Kisi ki life adbhut ho, that is their luck, and whatever it is, you just need to be normal. Just get through life. And that's the story I told myself. So that's how I behaved, I thought, and I dressed. Normal. Then one fine day I said that, a lot of things happened. And then that came to a point where, and I'm like, why should I be normal? I have a desire, and we all do. I had a desire that I want to do something different. I want to stand out. I really do want to stand out. So why was I being shy about it? Why was I being low key about it? Why was I ashamed about it? I think society makes you feel so ashamed of wanting to be different. And I said, I have two choices. Either I continue to, say that, yeah, society is making me feel like this, or I take some ownership and I do something about it. So that's where I said that, okay, I'm actually going to move and shake a bit. I joined the image program. I said, this is for me. Like, I'm gonna first work on me. I'm the project. I'm the new project here. Of course, making it a career was always the idea. But I had to be convinced, because I always knew that I am a walking, talking billboard of who I am going to say. I am. Like, you will only come to me and want to come to me if I look like I say who I am. So that's something I knew from the start. And I really started working on myself. So I read better books. I practiced, communication in front of the mirror. I bettered my body language by making a conscious effort on straightening my back and, sitting in a particular position. I started getting conscious of a lot of things, because I told myself, you want that? What are you doing for it? And that's the same formula I use with everyone, right? So coming to today with clients, I do the same exact thing. What has worked with me, I try to put it, of course, with customization to their life is what I use. So I ask them, I say, okay, this is how do you look at yourself today? Tell me. And I tell them to vomit out exactly how they feel about themselves, downright everything. Once they say all of this, then I, of course, do a psychoanalysis to get them to know as to where these thoughts have come from. Once I get to that point of saying where these thoughts have come from, I ask them, is this still a fact in your life or is it just a feeling now? Right? And that's where the rationalization comes in. So it most times lands up just being a feeling. It's not a fact of life anymore. बचपन में हुआ था, अभी तो फैक्ट नहीं है, फीलिंग ही बची है. So we always land up in adulthood, especially with the residue of our childhood. Can we move and shake that? Can we get that out? Yes. If you're here with me today, yes, you want to. You've already taken the first action, is what I tell them. So, congratulations to that. Now, can we walk together on this journey? And I show them the roadmap. And I ask for a commitment. I say, look, your success with me depends on my success with you. So, are you ready to be successful together? Because a lot of people sign up with me and say, but aapne to kuch kiya nahi, ke whatever, like I didn't want that. So I make this mini contract. I say, look, you have to help me to help you. I'm going to give you the tools. I'm going to show you the way, but I'm not going to lift you. You've got to walk. So I think that is something that I help them through their self-image journey. And I think I've had so many of these experiences of self-image with clients wherein they've had a great amount of transformation, wherein they've started seeing themselves in a very different light. And I've had moments of tears with people who are like, oh my God, we were really so good and we had no idea that we had so much potential to get out there. So it takes a long time, but if there is 100% willingness, there is 100% dedication from my end to see the whole thing through.
Amazing. That's really, really amazing. And that's quite insightful to know that how it connects, with self-image and how image consulting can truly impact people inside out.
Absolutely.
So, Benaisha, to what extent you think that body image, because a lot of people have very serious body image issues, and I'm sure you must have experienced that also when you do consulting with your clients. How do you deal with body image issues through image consulting?
So, a lot of body image issues come from, again, self-image issues, wherein they're just never happy with how they look, and then no matter what suggestion you really make to them in terms of garment choices or colors, they they've come to you themselves voluntarily, but they're not accepting of any of those recommendations and suggestions. So it takes some time to first break their belief on how they perceive themselves. And that again is a journey of self image and body image, because a positive self image leads to a positive body image, to then leads to a good self esteem. So that journey, sometimes it becomes like that tough nut to crack, because and every time they come around to say, but no, I feel fat, I am fat, look at me. And I get this often कि आपके लिए तो कितना easy है, but I think what really they come to understand is who they are and how to love themselves. So that self love is something that I teach them through. Now, self love is one of my absolute favorite topics. I think I've done a pseudo PhD in that. Like, I love self love because I think it's such a beautiful experience that I've had with myself, to know myself. And there are lots of ways and functions on how to love yourself. But I think the first step is to know yourself, to then love. So, how is it to know yourself? I think I take them through these exercises. I ask them various questions about their lives. I ask them again this or that questions in regards to scenarios about people. And I notice, and I make them notice, that they are absolutely okay if the same situation of their life, I have now said it in third person. I've said, so there was a person called so and so, and this is what their life was, and this is what happened. What do you think? And they're always giving the right answers. And then I say the same story back again to them using their name in it. And they have that moment of realization that it's me who's being really harsh to myself. It's nobody else. सोसाइटी है ही नहीं, हम ही सोसाइटी है, हम ही सोसाइटी को बनाते हैं. लोग क्या कहें? लोग वही कहेंगे जो हम लोगों को हमारे बारे में कहते हैं. And that is something which hits them so hard because they're like, oh my God, really? Is it me who's putting all this poison in myself? And it takes some time with, some a little longer than the others. But it is I think there are some times wherein 3 4 a month goes in just explaining this one concept to them. It's not a session, it's a journey, I say. So whenever anyone comes to me say, acha kitne session lagenge, I'm like, I'm a pay as you go person. I don't have anything that's completely fixed and solid. I tried that model and I realized that people also felt very rigid against it, and I also felt very rigid against it. I like short term commitments from people who are unsure and long term commitments from people who ask for it, as a consultant as well. So I feel that when somebody comes in for the first time and they understand this issue and they're willing to address it, they're open to it. Like I had a lady who a negative experience here. I had a lady who came to me, her husband passed away, and her daughter had done sessions with me and she was really happy, and now she wanted to do the same. She wanted to work on the same thing on body and self and love and all of it, but I asked all of these questions to her at the start. I did this whole process and she was very uncomfortable. To at the end of it, she said, I don't think ये सब मेरे लिए है. Because it was so edged in her brain that as a widow, sorry, I can't live happily anymore. And she comes from a modern, well-read, well-traveled, educated family, but she still told herself this story. Cut to 1.5 years later, she saw some Instagram reel of mine, and she checked up on me, and she messaged me saying, I saw these reels of you, and today I'm in a different thought process. Can I come and meet you, and can we do a consultation? And it's been, I think, around 3 months now. She's in a different space completely. She's crossed the bridge, of self love to self esteem through the body, positive body image. And she's like, "Theek hoon, extra large. I'm good that I'm okay in whatever situation life has put me. Just because certain things happen to me doesn't mean that's the end of my life." So I think sometimes healing also takes longer for some people, and it's absolutely okay to wait it out. I've had clients who they tell me, I've been following you since 3 years, but it took them 3 years to sign up. So I think everyone has that journey, and body is a very touchy thing, because I feel like when people come to you, they can say कि मैं मोटी हूँ, but the minute you start to even, you don't even say it like that, but the minute you start to even have the conversation, they get very cagey about it, because they feel that even we would be judging them. So it takes a lot of time to make them feel comfortable.
सो टेल मी, ऐसे कुछ टिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स होते हैं जिसकी वजह से, और जिससे रादर बॉडी इमेज इश्यूज को एड्रेस किया जाता है थ्रू इमेज कंसल्टिंग?
Yes, definitely. So, for example, our proportion of clothing. Like today, I wanted to look slightly taller, even though I'm seated. But sometimes when two colors are right here, you kind of have a break in the frame as well. So I wanted to look all monotone and just have one pop color right here, to create visual imagery of me looking slightly taller than I currently am. So one tip is those using colors, using different kinds of silhouettes and shapes, on how to contour your body. So we know a lot about makeup contouring, but body contouring is also done, and it's not only through corsets, it's also through cuts and silhouettes and hemlines. It's also through your accessories, how big or small your bags are, how big or small your bows are, your earrings are, right? Your hair as well, the kind of makeup that you do. So there are a lot of these tips. One is proportion, the other one is balance. How do you balance your colors? The other part is using colors that work as per your skin. So today I've got all cooler colors on me, cool pinks and cool blues, right out there to kind of enhance my facial features. So I think using all of these of elements of design that we are taught in an image management school, that kind of helps an individual quickly. Like the color example that I gave, when I told my clients just wear these 2 3 colors in the day. So I personally have my heart on color, as you may have noticed, but shapes are also very very important.
So I think a lot of techniques are there in image consulting which can be used to help people psychologically,
Yes.
feel better, feel good about themselves. And that also impacts their self image and enhances their self esteem,
Correct.
right?
Yes. Yes.
Amazing, amazing. Binaisha, I wanted to ask you, what is that breakthrough moment that you have accomplished by some work which you feel is very close to your heart?
Mm. I've had a few close to my heart works, um, but I'll share a recent one. I was consulting a woman in her late 30s, and she was going through a divorce. So she came at a very low time in her life, and it was a very very ugly divorce. So counseling her through that, um, at that, I mean, fortunate for the scenario that she didn't have children yet, so it felt relatively easier for her to pack her bags to leave because it was an abusive marriage. And you know when she came to me, she literally said that i I really don't feel like I want to restart at all. I'm just here so my today is better, but I really don't see anything happening for me. Someone who had a great corporate stint prior to her marriage, but during her marriage of I think 7 to 8 years of marriage, um, she was not allowed to work really, and they were trying to have children, and all of that was in the process, but her whole life suddenly went from a corporate leader to someone who was just doing something totally different. So she lost her mojo and her spirit in that process. And then she was going through a divorce. So she came to me at a point when she's like, I just want to get done with the divorce. Then I'll figure kuch chota mota here and there. And through our sessions, I worked with her through making her realize that you are not chota mota. you know, you've had a gregarious career. You've had amazing credibilities to your name. You are still reputed and recognized in your industry and line of work. Yes, you've had a decent sabbatical, which can be to somebody hampering, but it's not something that's a no. Yeah, it's not the end. So let's give it a shot. She like, नहीं पर मेरे में तो confidence ही नहीं है, like मैं टूट ही चुकी हूँ, like I'm just done. Like the things that were said to her was so painful that even when she was narrating it to me, I mean, with every case sometimes I'm like, how can people be like that? But every day I'm surprised with the idiocracies that some people have with them. Anyway, um so we're working on her self image. At the same time, I'm trying to rekindle her leadership qualities, by giving her a few tasks to do well within her family, right? It was her friend's, what do you say, baby shower. So give her a little leadership thing to say, go plan it. Why don't you initiate it? Why don't you take charge? So, to get her back into that power stride, even in personal fronts. Um, Guided her to kind of change her sense of dressing as well, because she started to dress in like these really large rectangular loose tops when she was, I mean, she was a size medium. She was wearing like an extra large. So, she just wanted to feel very easy breezy, and I don't care if no one sees me. She always had a hairstyle. Absolutely, absolutely. So she used to like, defensive dressing all throughout. Like she just had her hair very shabbily undone, chappals, and nothing really exciting. Not that she couldn't either afford it or she had no interest in it. Anyway, so we slowly started working on those aspects as well. By the time her divorce came through, on her last signing day, um, she literally came out and she called me. She said, I can't tell you. Like, when I went in for my first sign, I was sobbing as to why have we come to this? And today, I'm like, why didn't I do this before? And, I'm sure you've heard this many times, Benaisha, that you've saved a marriage, but I'm so glad that you helped me going through ahead with this divorce. Which is, I mean, I do help people with both, because it's what's good for them, right? And it was very strange to hear that. She's like, thank you for helping me get this divorce, because I didn't want it, but then now I see myself. I'm wearing my right clothes, I'm looking the part, I'm feeling great. She applied for a job, she got a position that she didn't expect, and because the person recognized that she had a good run before and she was capable, and they gave her a higher position. um she's felt great. She's now gone back into the dating zone, she's dating somebody. And my last call was last week with her. And today, I think that whole journey of the last 2 years has just been so heartfelt that I feel like I raised a really grown up child. And there's so many of these.
And these stories are so touchy. I mean, you feel that you are a part of it completely.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like, I feel like a really proud mom most of the times. It's at stories, and it's very, very, very heartwarming, because I think the beauty of the world lies in all these little moments, and I'm so grateful for my career that helps me enjoy these moments.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tell me about some unconventional assignments that you have done so far, if you've done them.
Unconventional. So when I started my image consulting, I used to do a lot of pro bono work, and I mean, even now, if it's like an NGO or anything to give back, it's always pro bono. But I specifically started with two areas in Mumbai. One was Kamatipura and one was Dharavi. So, being a psychology and sociology student, we had a project to do in college. And I chose the sex workers mind. So I said, I want to really see, like, I was so curious, like, why would people sign up for this? And this was way before all the movies came about, right? I'm like, I just couldn't fathom, why would a girl want to choose to do this and stay in this? So we were a group of 2 3 people, and who decided to take this subject up, and wherein we visited Kamatipura several months to study, to talk, about their lives, their understanding of whatever life happens to them. And it hit too soon. too soon. And that's what I realized, that this was before I joined the image course, but I used to still go while I was doing the image course. And I realized that if they've chosen to make this their profession, let's make it better for them. So there were women who said, we have sealed the deal. This is our fate and this is our life. It's not about choice or liking anything. And I still remember there was this one lady who said, किसी को भी यहाँ पे देख लो, जो भी काम करता है उसको हमेशा उसका काम पसंद नहीं आता है. 80% लोग ऐसे ही होते हैं दुनिया में, उसको उसका काम पसंद नहीं आता है. सिर्फ 20% लोग अच्छे, मतलब
जो खुश रहते हैं अपने
या
काम से.
दे जस्ट डिसाइड कि ठीक है. सो शी लाइक, आई एम 80%, दिस इज माय वर्क. एंड शी सेड ठीक है, बट आप मतलब tell us something now, how can we get more clients? That's what she asked me. And I felt it very weird. But then while I was one day in my class of image, and we were talking about Indian dressing, and saris and salwars, and that's what these women usually wear, and body shapes. So I went back thinking that now if this is what they want to do, let me teach them how to drape themselves better. Let me teach them how to style themselves better. Because we were in that era of Fair and Lovely back then, where everyone wanted to look white, right? So that was, I mean, I was like, okay, if I really have to like style you up, let me style you only. So, along with, of course, understanding and working with some of them who wanted to get out, and some of them who said, this is where we are and this is our life. This was one of the projects that I was working on. I was working with 7 women, to be precise, who wanted to learn how to do better makeup, do better hair, get more clients, to make them more attractive. So I used my image skills for that. When I shared this with a bunch of people, I got a lot of backlash to say that how could you? But I was like, everyone has a job. If the same woman was in Amsterdam, you'd probably whistle and say she's hot. So what's the difference here, right? So I continued to do that. My parents were apprehensive, yet my dad every time came to like pick and drop me, obviously, because he wasn't very happy of that area. The second part of Kamati Pura was wherein so some of the women had children, and they didn't want the children to be exposed to that area. So there was a school with an NGO that was running in Kamatipura on 2 floors. They had made one the residential and one the study floor. And there were these not government really, but NGO teachers used to come and teach. And I used to volunteer for teaching as well, and for helping the kids through their psychological issues. So the kids were from 3 to 12. I used to work with all age groups as much as possible. I used to work with the mothers on making themselves, because they were weaning out of the process. So just kind of working through with that. That was Kamatipura. After that, with Dharavis, in a couple of months after that, but this was ongoing parallelly with Dharavi. The Mudra group had come up with an initiative to fund these women and make them business, have their own businesses. So I was working with a friend, and he suggested that why don't you do image management for them, and train them how to be better professionals. So the next project that I was working on simultaneously was Dharavi. So Dharavi was a project wherein we had identified 10 women who were sponsored by a corporation, and they wanted to make them, like entrepreneurs, mini entrepreneurs. So it could be a vegetable vendor, and this was for the women only. So they had selected 10 women who were very enterprising, but they needed life skills. So I started using my image consulting tools for them. So I taught them body language, negotiation skills, grooming, interview skills, because some of them went for interviews as well, to beauty parlors or nurses. Some of them who had vegetable stalls. So there was someone who was explaining the business side, there was someone who was explaining the law side, and I was there explaining life skills of personality development. So that was Dharavi project. And then from the Kamati Pura, I also started working with there's this the NGO that I was, Shamta. They have a different division as well for girls who have kind of escaped from you know escape these situations of traffic, or of being killed, or being by their families, the abuse and things like that. So I was just again working with them to just help build their self-esteem and morale back, along with teaching them communication, English, body language, grooming, those aspects. And finally, the last bit was an NGO that I absolutely am still very connected with and I love, is Advitya. It's for the mentally challenged adults. And I remember for so many years, whenever I went in there, they would say, "Hello, Benaisha, our image consultant has come." They would not say really teacher. So it was so nice, because again I was teaching them how to sit straight and communicate well, and how to shake hands well, how to greet people. Basic etiquette, of course, for the mentally challenged adults. But I did that for many, many years. We did this through activities, of course. All of these that I've done, there no PPTs or anything like that that's used. All through communication, all through physical demonstration.
More of tactile learning.
Right. So these were all the things. There was one other thing that I also did with the criminal cell. So these girls had been they had committed a crime, but in self defense. So but they were not in jail, they were in more like a rehabilitation cell. So from my NGO, the earlier one that I was working with the girls, this was an offset of that, because the girls that came out of it went to the NGOs that they started rehabilitating their workplaces. So again, over there as well, grooming, etiquette, because some of them have been extremely, extremely scarred. Like some of the stories have been quite traumatic. So just how to get back and integrate them into society.
So,
So
so that means that image consulting is not limited to just one particular segment, where people have this false notion or false belief that this is only for probably the corporate professionals or celebrities. But the kind of work that you are talking about, I mean, you are actually doing the corporate, the celebrities, and every segment of the society.
yes,
Is that true?
it is. It is. And and honestly, I 1000% enjoy more of this side than I mean, I do enjoy corporates to a point, but I think I have got great fulfillment from working with every day to day individual who's looking to really, because the keenness that I saw on all of these individuals, it's so hard to find otherwise, because they are all so willing to learn and enhance themselves. They were so proud that they had an image consultant.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, can you share some practical tips for people to enhance their self confidence in a day to day life?
So I think the practical tips here would be, number one is self awareness. So I'm sure every Instagram reel, everyone has heard this, to journal. But journaling is a great form of reflection. and reflecting on your day to day habits, your behaviors, gives you a good insight on what your work upons are as a person. So, this could be mentally as well as physically. So, mentally, certain behaviors that you need to start to change, and physically could be maybe you need to work on reading more so you can speak better, maybe sitting with your back straight so you don't slouch more, or maybe it could be making sure that when you're greeting people, your hand gestures or your body postures are better. So I think all of self realization and self awareness is one of the first steps. Then
Self-care.
Absolutely. So self-care is in all of this and not just spas, of course. So this is what would be the good start. I think another thing that has really helped me and a lot of my clients is reading good books, reading to get a lot more perspective and be beyond, what you know, because there's a lot that you don't know. And reading helps you talk, reading helps you grow, reading helps you be knowing more than just what meets the eye. So that's another thing. What I would also say is organization of yourself. What I mean by that is look at your surroundings and try to organize tad bits of it around. This makes you a very disciplined individual. So, from whether it's your wardrobe organization, your desk organization, your to do list organization, all of these little things help you to feel great about yourself. So, confidence is a pizza. It's not about like just one ingredient. There are several ingredients that go in to make a pizza. So these little things that I'm saying is one is your dough, one is your water, one is your tomato sauce, one is your toppings. And if even one of them is out, you will find that lack of confidence.
Also, just to add to that, I mean, I strongly believe in that. Exercising, keeping yourself physically and mentally fit is very important. Building your confidence muscle through even workout,
True.
for that matter. It has helped me immensely. I can vouch for it that whoever actually works out in the morning and builds and gets that dopamine rush in the brain early in the morning, I think that makes a lot of difference in setting the pace for the entire day.
Absolutely. Yes, movement is very important. So that's another great point. Movement and meditation is something that I strongly recommend, because um, to find that balance is very important. And a lot of people misunderstand meditation for like reaching a point in time, but that's not what meditation is. It's about just calming your mind, it's about nothingness. So that 5 minutes of nothingness is actually also something that's amazing to do. So I think these are a few tips that are basic but are so important. People go like, but ye to sab basic hai, kuch like tell us something
I always
exciting.
say, and I always believe, there's a book called Elephants Don't Bite,
Yes,
but Mosquitoes Do.
correct.
So these are the small things that can make a huge difference in people's life. I have seen it for myself. I've seen so many people transform with just changing small daily habits.
Yes.
So one question that I want to ask you is that if somebody wants to become an image consultant, what should they keep in mind? What is it that they should do?
Um, One is you have to be a good listener, is very, very important. It's not about you, it's about them. Number two, you should want to have the passion to really find joy in your client more than in you, which means that sometimes your recommendations may not be something that you want to say and do, but it's something which will work for them. So be honest about it and say it for them. The other thing is that as an image consultant, I've learned that every day you're not going to work. There are some days where you don't work, but you have to learn on those days. And those are more important than the working days. So some days you don't have a workshop, some days you don't have a client, some days you don't have a gig at all. And those are the days where you stop, pause, reflect, revise, or refresh in a different way to create. to then take it back. And as an image consultant, I think it's very, very important to have continuous learning in everything, from a plant to, to everything. Try to observe, try to get various perspectives about life, about learning. And that's how you learn people and you'll study people, because we're in the business of enhancing lives. We're in the business of making people feel great about themselves. We're in the business of making people realize who they are and what their potential can be. So take it seriously. Don't make it a matter of, okay, and don't be calculative. I think sometimes being calculative and being very restrictive can make you very repulsive, because you're in a people's business. You can't have it chalked out, I will do this and only for 1 hour, and I will speak only at this point, and I will say only these things. So I think flexibility would be my last point as well.
Amazing. So now we come to the signature segment, which is breaking the mirror. So here we challenge all the myths and the myths that shape your reality, your self image, and confidence. So tell me, what is that one myth about personal branding or appearance that you want to break today?
That it's only for the rich. I think everyone just thinks that, you only, matlab, Bollywood needs it, only the rich need it. Like, I don't need it. I'm a normal Joe. So I don't need personal branding. Who's looking at me? Mujhe kaun dekh raha hai? So I think that's something I definitely want to break. Like, I want to shake people up and say, do you know how much potential you have? Because I feel like if everyone works on their optimum potential, there'll be healthy competition, collaboration, and less of insecurity.
Absolutely. Coming to that, insecurity is directly related with the kind of muscle you build in yourself when it comes to confidence, when it comes to self esteem. So, all these are directly related with how much work do you put within you, and you are a person who is work in progress. So, all those people who are standing still in life and they feel that, okay, I'm done. At 40, I'm going to be retiring. Okay, I'm done with this, I'm done with that, I'm done with everything in life. So, does that mean that your life is over? So, this is what people need to understand, that you still have the power, you still have the potential. It's just that you need to recognize, channelize, visualize, and take action. Amazing. So, this was such an insightful session with you, Benaisha. And I'm sure all the people who will be, hearing, seeing this podcast will have immense takeaway and a great value addition in their life if they start implementing what we actually discussed. So, thank you. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
And that's a wrap on this episode of Perception and Beyond. A heartfelt thank you to our guest, Benaisha Kharas, for sharing her insights on image consulting. If today's conversation offered you a fresh perspective, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Remember, our perception shapes our reality, but there's always more beneath the surface. Stay curious, remain open, and keep evolving. Until next time, take care and continue to discover what lies in perception and beyond.